to bins, and bins in Birmingham, actually, there's a combination of private and council, isn't it? Because the council run it with private firms. And we know what's been going on. We're going to catch up with some of our favourite Birmingham locals to hear how they're getting on with the strikes, which are still ongoing. So let us speak to Sadia Khan. It's been a hot weekend in the Midlands, hasn't it? That can't have helped.
Hi, Jeremy. Yes, it has.
So
We've had a lot of hundreds of thousands in the city as well because of the warmer weather.
You've sent us a couple of before and after photos of an area that's been affected near you. So I'm going to just show these, OK? So we're firstly looking at the pile of rubbish near some homes which volunteers went in and cleared. Let's have a look at that. Those are the bin bags, all sealed. Then the bags are taken and you're left then with a strewn area of bits and pieces and leakage, so-called bin juice. And then, Sadia, you actually filmed the rats. So did you see this rat then?
One of my friends filmed it in Small Heath Park. Yes.
Look at this.
It's in daylight now. You see a lot more rodent infestation. A lot more people are reporting rodent infestations down.
Well, that rat was just standing there, to quote Fawlty Towers, as calm as you like. What are the bin bags behind you? What's going on there?
The corner of our park, it just accumulates every time it's been removed. It's a lot of commercial waste and fly tipping that's being attracted to the litter spots, and they just reappear every week. There's more here, like a map. Some commercial oil bottles. The restaurant is
okay. We're losing the
line.
Over
commercial businesses, they're hardly used.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, we're losing the line there. I do apologise. We'll stop there, but we got the picture completely. And we're going to talk about whether soldiers should be brought in. Because the army are involved now, but in offices, just sort of doing logistics. Don't we need boots on the ground in Birmingham? 020 7862 2222. We'd love your calls on that. We haven't got our graphic today because there's been a failure on the graphics end. Now, the army's been called in to help after a month-long strike by bin workers in Birmingham, but they're going to be based in an office and help with planning. It's thought around 20,000 tonnes of uncollected waste is lining the streets. Soldiers.
Would it be better to have them clearing up the streets?
Yep, I don't
think it would.
Soldiers.
No, it wouldn't. The government is right to bring the army in to help in the office, on the back end, with the logistics. However, there are other ways that it can address this problem. For instance, bringing in emergency legislation to allow agency workers to fill in some of the gaps if Birmingham's bin collectors are refusing or unable to do their jobs. They could also bring in lorries and workers from other areas, perhaps South Cambridgeshire District Council, because I think the bin men there are only working 4-day weeks. So there are other ways of solving this problem that don't involve enlisting people who are trained to fight wars to hold litter pickers.
OK, that's a good point. This is not the job of soldiers, James.
No, it's not the job of soldiers.
So you wouldn't send soldiers in?
I mean, only if there was absolutely no other choice. You need practical solutions. They need to have a real plan of action. Annabel's right on that. This is similar to when we had the nurses' strikes. You have to come to an agreement. You have to fix the issue. But in the meantime, you have to come up with a solution. And if that means agency workers or whatever, but we can't live in a society where army men are putting on high-vis jackets and cleaning streets. I mean, that is...
I wonder whether... I was just thinking about it, looking at those pictures, thinking, because this is quite an open country, it will all be filmed. So you'll see soldiers working as dustmen. And that's going to be a really difficult image for us to take.
It'll be a difficult image for us to take. It will also be send a very dangerous message to the dictators and the aggressors and the authoritarians of this world. What will the Chinese, what will the Russians, what will the Kremlin think of British soldiers being forced to patrol the streets, collecting other people's litter because our state is so broken that it's unable to perform its most basic
How else
functions.
do you do it? I mean, the other thing that's happened here, as Sadia was saying earlier, is that it's unleashed all the fly tippers and probably people coming from miles away. That Birmingham is now basically a dustbin.
It's the country's dump.
It is the country's dump, and you've got people turning up from other places and dumping their old sofas and stuff because it's lawless now.
Well, you need
You've got to stop that.
You need a proper police presence. You need the police to be able to and have the tools to come down on fly tippers, those who are exploiting this in some way. Very, very hard. We need to have the ability. We're going to be talking about the situation in the criminal justice system and the problems that they're suffering. Look, we cannot imprison people when they break the law. What hope is there?
All right.
But I think what this really does display is the difficulties that the Labour government are going to have when it comes to dealing with the unions in the future. They told us last year that all of the strike action was over because they'd met their pay demands, and that was drawing a line under it. That was the end of it. But actually, history has taught us that the unions will keep coming back from.
OK, Shelley's in Newcastle. Would you send in soldiers, Shelley?
No, I wouldn't. I've got a couple of points, actually. I mean, people were crying out, would the nurses or the train drivers accept a £6,000 pay cut a year? I mean, the low paid these bin men to start with. I think the councillors should get off their bum. They've been awarded a 5-point-something pay rise, and they do it.
Well, hang on.
They think they should get a pay cut, these people doing this dirty job.
Yeah, they're removing a particular post, aren't they, which is a kind of a rota organiser post, which they think was just essentially a way of getting extra money to shift workers, and the council doesn't like it. And finally, the council's now run by, as I can understand, administrators apparently, so they don't care about the politics.
Went bankrupt.
Yeah, so the people who are running are not politicians now, so they just say, well, we can't afford that, and that's it. They make a decision in half a day. This is
the tip of the iceberg. But Birmingham doesn't have a bin problem. Birmingham is living in the middle of a financial crisis. It breaks my heart. I'm from the Midlands. I grew up not far from there. I used to go to Birmingham as a child, and it was a lovely city. And then in the early 2000s, massive investment. They did the Bull Ring, the library, New Street was all renovated. It was gorgeous. And then it just stopped, and it's had no investment since then.
Well, it's got HS2 for crying out loud. I mean, I don't even understand what's going on there. They've, the whole of HS2 was cancelled, except the bit from London to Birmingham, the one bit they didn't need.
No,
so apparently, by the way, the figures that Shelley's given us are highly disputed. Not all bin men are getting a £6,000 pay cut. That's not true. And the council say the big pay cut that was referred to only refers to 14 people, 1-4. I don't know whether they should fire all the bin men and get new ones. I don't know.
I mean, they're never going to fire all the bin men and get new ones.
Well, they're not working at the moment.
Well, yeah, but they need to find a common ground, find somewhere to meet with them, because otherwise the unions aren't going to be satisfied, and this is just going to roll on and on and on.
Mm. Steve is in Birmingham itself. How's your area, Steve?
My area's okay at the moment, to be honest with you, because we've had the bin men come round this morning.
Wow, was that like you throw a party for that, or what?
I don't know, to be honest with you, because they came round last week and they picked the rubbish up, and they've come round today and they've done the rubbish again. I've been watching you on the show on here. I mean, the rubbish has to be terrible.
What part of Birmingham?
Now I don't think they should come in.
What part of Birmingham are you in, Steve?
Politicians ought to start paying them more money.
What part of Birmingham are you in, Steve?
I'm in Castle Bromwich.
Castle Bromwich. OK, so you think you've got some good bin operatives there, it sounds like.
Well, I think so, yes, because we've had the same problem as everybody else, where the rubbish is all sacked up. And over the last couple of weeks, this week, they've actually been round and done the bins. We've had people throw rubbish outside our house, And what I've been doing over the last few weeks, I've been preaching to my car, and I've been taking it to the tip. Now, a lot of people could do the same as what I've done.
Yeah.
Get your bin, get your bags. I know it's not your job to do that, but get your bags, put it into your car, book it, and go and get rid of some of the rubbish.
It's interesting. So, thank you, Steve. I have heard people in the other parts of the country saying the people of Birmingham have some responsibility here for not taking action to stop this massive amount of rubbish just piling up. So you could go to the tip, but the tips, apparently, some of them are closed now. Ian in North Ayrshire, are the bin persons to blame here?
Yes, in a word, yes. But it's a complex situation. The second city in the UK allegedly have made a mess of running the city, and we've handed it over to autocrats who have no investment other than picking up their salary. The government are standing by because the union paymasters, they don't want to disturb them. It looks like anarchy on the streets of Birmingham. And I'm surprised the people in Birmingham haven't taken to the streets.
Yeah, well, or taken all the rubbish and put it outside the council or something. We gather the latest is people genuinely saying we think we're now getting ill because of the rats. Because there's so many rats now. There's got Weil's disease, which is nasty, and so they've got people in hospital apparently saying that they've got essentially rat-related sickness.
And no wonder. There's a reason why in a civilised, developed country you expect bin men to clear your rubbish away. That's because people shouldn't have to live in squalid conditions where vermin are running up and down the streets and potentially spreading disease.
I don't understand why the council can't just bring in loads and loads of private operators to clear this.
Because they haven't got any money.
They haven't got any money. Yeah, that's a good reason.
But there are also laws in place which restrict the government's ability to bring in agency workers when strike action is underway.
Oh, OK. And I also gather from some people in Birmingham that the picketing bin operatives will not let their own depots be used by anyone who's not a council bin person, understandably. So they walk in front of the vans and all that. It's a shocking situation, but do we need soldiers there now? This is getting almost dangerous for people in Birmingham. More of your calls on the Birmingham bin strike. The army has been sent in, but not in. They're based in an office, and they're going to do planning and logistics, and they're going to, I'm assuming, that thing where you have a sandpit and you move tanks around, rather than actually boots on the ground. Gary in Cardiff, should we have boots on the ground?
No.
Right.
They should use the ones that are serving community sentences. It wouldn't cost the council anything. They would serve back their sentence by doing something useful, and it would be saving the Birmingham Council money.
Well, that's a good point. Leave aside, I mean, community sentences, they might not fancy it, but you could get people out of prison to do it. Yeah, for sure. If you're on a 10-year stretch.
Why not? Why, if they've done wrong and they've been found guilty of a crime,
yeah,
they can't turn around and say, "Oh, well, I don't want to go to prison." So, they don't pick their jails that they go to.
Yeah.
Why should they be able to pick what they can do?
Good point.
If there's no physical reason why they can't pick up rubbish or go and help pick up rubbish.
Well, why not? I suppose the answer is they might not do it very well. That would be the worry, because this needs to be done in a very professional way now.
Yes, but then you put them to pick up the bulk of it, and then the proper council workers come along afterwards and do the fine details of it, picking up the little bits of litter, street pickers.
It's a good thought. You could seriously, James, you could say, right, you've been found guilty, you're sentenced to a year in Birmingham.
I agree with Gary entirely. Actually, I think that's a really, really good idea. They already use prisoners and people doing community service to do hedgerows and I know they clear parks and things like that. So this wouldn't be a huge step beyond that.
But you need thousands. I mean, you need 2,000 people, I think, to do this. It's gone so far now. What do you think about it?
Well, I think we're talking about two slightly separate issues, aren't we? One is who's going to clear away these bags and bags of rubbish, and it'd be very difficult to have prisoners getting behind the wheel of dump trucks and moving this stuff around. But I agree with Gary that we could have people who are doing community service, dealing with the detritus, everything that's sprawled across the streets in the aftermath, because they're going to be in a terrible state. And it's an important part of rehabilitation, I think, for prisoners as well, to contribute to society.
And the army could oversee it. The army could run it, make sure that the prisoners were doing the correct work.
From what I'm hearing on the phones, we're not getting anyone who wants to see soldiers picking up rubbish. It's just not a good look in the 21st century or any century. Sarah in London, hello.
Hello there. Good morning to all.
You're a little way from Birmingham, but you probably can getting a waft of it.
I think actually, having listened to your last phone call or two calls, I'm reiterating a point that you don't join the army, who are very, very short-staffed. You don't go into the army to collect rubbish in Birmingham.
No, and that's not part of any recruitment advert that I've seen.
Well, it won't be.
It's not even mentioned.
But the thing is, we've got so many illegals here that we're just holding in abeyance.
Well,
get them out there.
All right, that's
Get them out there, and you're going to need a Pied Piper
to do what?
Clear the rat situation.
Oh, yeah,
it's not kosher, is it?
Can we do? All right, can we? That's another interesting thought, Sarah. So we've had prisoners, and now we've got people, the small boats people.
No, I don't believe that you can expect asylum seekers to clear litter up off the streets. What I do
economic
think we need
migrants,
to do,
surely you can.
But what we do need to do actually is give these people the ability to work when they come to the UK, so that they're not just sort of stuck, stranded in these hotels without anything to do, waiting to see if their asylum application is going to be successful. So
if you
we need to find ways to incentivise them to work, but I'm not sure that we can round them all up and send them out onto the streets picking up rubbish.
Well, no. I mean, if the Telegraph says that, then I'm not one to argue. But it's just that if you were to put the message out that if you come in a small boat, you'll be taken to Birmingham to clear up rubbish, it might act as a disincentive to people making these dangerous trips. That's all.
Well, maybe it could be part of the process. You know, while you're waiting to be processed and your application for a working visa is to be accepted or declined, we've got some manual labour here if you're fit and able and willing to actually make a direct contribution to the UK's second city, which is in a really, really sorry state. Maybe that would be
I think
something.
a lot of them would probably want to do that. I don't know, but then again, actually, as you've pointed out, it's not just about having human beings picking up bags, because you've got to throw them somewhere. And that's about having a truck, and the truck has to have somewhere to go to, and the tips are full. And this is a real crisis for Birmingham. And as I say, it's not the politicians who are running it now, it's the accountants, because the politicians apparently can't do accountancy. And it's gone bust twice. Kath in West Yorkshire, hello.
Hello.
What do you think? We're sensitive territory here, we know this, of whether you use prisoners or migrants or, I don't know, just anyone.
Well, in all honesty, I don't care who they bring in to move all the rubbish, as long as it's not the bin men, because I think they should stay out until they get what they ask for, because they deserve it. The job is hard, it's filthy, and it's a damn dangerous job. And my brother-in-law was a bin man. Oh. He ended up having to come out when he was 52 because he could barely walk. And if those bags were outside my house, I would be using a bulldozer and taking them and tipping them in front of the council doors and let them see what it's like.
Well, I'm surprised no one's done that. Yeah,
children.
This is all about, the background is the male-female equal pay thing in Birmingham, where Birmingham has now lost 2 very expensive cases because they don't pay their women workers enough. And the reason they're so determined not to give way here is because bin operatives, as you correctly say, are nearly all men. And if they don't reduce their pay or give them a pay rise or whatever, they then end up out of kilter with the women. So that's why the council's obsessed with this case. So, Kath, it's a bit more complicated than you say. It's not just about, I know it's a hard job, but they're trying to avoid then having to give a pay rise to all their women workers.
If the women are working on the bins, then pay them the same as the men.
That's not it.
They're doing the same job.
That's not it. That's not what it's about. It's about women in other jobs who say, I'm doing the equivalent of the bin men. They've got a rise, so I want one. And twice now, Birmingham has lost, maybe even £1 billion in equal pay cases. They've lost so much money by not doing that they're now determined not to make the same mistake. That's why they won't give way here. But you think they should?
I hope the bin men don't give way, because I haven't seen a woman work on the bins. And as far as I know, there's nobody works in the council that does anything like a bin man does.
Oh, well, you're right there. That's for sure. Thanks, Kath, very much. Anthony, it's a good reminder that the front end, these jobs are hard, even with the gloves and all the modern technology.
Well, they are hard, and they're harder than being a cleaner, for instance, or the jobs that are women-dominated, predominantly female roles in the council.
That's the issue,
this is the problem with
equal
pay for equal work. If you have 2 individuals who are not doing the same job, and one of those jobs is more physical and it's more dangerous, it's more dirty, it's more difficult, possibly with more antisocial hours, why shouldn't the pay be higher? Not least so that the council can then attract more people into those roles.
I hear you. Anthony Birmingham. In Birmingham. Hi, how's your rubbish, Anthony?
Jeremy, it's okay. It's not too bad.
Okay.
I'm pretty much going to the tip once every fortnight myself, just to keep on top of it.
Are you worried about the rats?
I was worried about the rats, but like I say, I just think in my little community where I am, we'll all take care of and make sure that we're not living in this horrendous pigsty, which obviously revolves into rats.
There's the rat there. We just showed you. I know you can't see.
Areas,
Sorry, Andy, I'm just saying the rat's on the TV at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see the rats on the TV, but I also see that we're having the problems in the built-up areas where we're overcrowded. There's 10 or 12 people living to a house, so obviously there's naturally a lot more rubbish. But again, there's a lot more people that could take care and visit the tip and just so they're not living in this absolute chaos.
Okay. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks so much. Kathleen, also in Birmingham. Are you in an area that's been cleared, Kathleen, or is it messy?
Yes, we had our first collection on Sunday, yesterday.
Oh, so three people have had that.
I also, yeah, but what I'm saying, you've got accountants, quite rightly, in Birmingham City Council, which are being paid, say, 1,000 a day. And that's, say, over 5 days, that's 5,000. You take two people, that's 10,000 a week going out. That's what I think all councils should have people, overseers, come in at least once a year and check all the books. I think if that had happened, if all councils had been checked, I think you probably wouldn't have the problem you have today.
Okay, Kathleen, thank you. Thanks so much for all your calls on this. Later we'll be asking...